Hi, everybody. It's important for me to share with you this morning something very important. A force is about to enter the world and will be causing a lot of disaster into the world. This presence that I'm talking about is feeding an our misinterpretation about a lot of history of the past and even on the Bible because he prepared that. It is the presence behind disinformation, misinterpretation, and who has interest in you understanding the wrong way a lot of stuff about history, about Bible, because it is said about him that he was, he is not, and he will reappear. When you when you are going through Apocalypse, in the chapter 17, you will see that they are talking about this beast with 7 heads carrying the woman. And it is said that he was, he is not, and he will reappear. So, since this force, this presence, know that he lived before us, he knows more than us. He really knows about what happened in the story of the world. So he used that as a weapon, disinformation. In some aspect, the spiritual world is not that different from the physical one. In the physical world, it is the war for information. The real power is information. And people, countries are trying to control each other with information and disinformation. Each of them want to know more than the others. Each of them want to have an information that the other one don't have. It is the same path, the same model. When this being, this force, know that he was and he will reappear, he tried to make us learn history on the wrong way because if we know what he really did in ancient time and the ancient ages, we will know how to better prepare for him because they announce that he will reappear. So for him, tricking history, tricking the past is a strong weapon. The more you do that, the more we won't know about history and we won't know about what he really did in ancient time. And with that, he got away in a lot of his initiatives by falsing a lot of stuff from manuscript, from evidence of the past. And I know that a lot of you won't believe it, but even on the Bible, which is a book that say long about our past, that say a lot about that. So you will hear a lot of time when you are going through Matthew, you hear Jesus talking about the last events that's supposed to precede the end of this world. And talking about that, he spoke about abomination of desolation. When you see that taking place in holy places and church, everybody's supposed to be careful in what they are reading. And what is abomination of desolation? Which is a concept that the beast who was, who is not, and who will reappear, will use as a strong weapon. Abomination of desolation. It is exactly what we are talking about. There are some seeds that he planted, and during centuries, during a lot of time, he let them grow. He let them bloom. And waiting for the time when he's supposed to reappear, he will use them. I'm talking about the seeds, I'm talking about disinformation, the way he destroyed our past, our history, the way we're supposed to learn them. If we knew history the real way it is, we will know about him, the ravages, the disasters he has caused in the past, the way our forefathers used to fight him to win, because there is a way they used to fight him to win. There are people preceding us who used to cause him a lot of trouble, tribes before us, nation. God teach them way to fight him, and they won. He erased all of this history. First, what he has done in ancient ages. Second, the way people used to fight to overcome the obstacle that he present them. Don't think, if you used to read the Bible and thinking that the beast is using a lot of spiritual power to destroy people, it's not really that. His strongest weapon is history, disinformation, destroying the past, destroying manuscript. That's why a lot of time in ancient ages, the kings, the church, I'm not talking about the right church, the one that used to prosecute people, make their life difficult because they are telling the truth. In the past, the Catholicism used to control what people, what historians want to tell. They used to control what people are about to write in their book of history. And they can easily tell you, I want you to omit this part. I want you to stop talking about this passage. Write this instead. And sometimes it's the kings. They don't want some history to go out there. And if history is a way for us to know the past, to understand the present, and to prepare for the future, what is our fate if we know a wrong version of history? Sometimes nations are set up against each other. It's based on history because something that happened between them and the past. Race hate other race because of what has been said in history. So history is something fundamental for our civilization, for our society. We use history to know how to behave to each other. But what if history has been told in the wrong way? What if the story that make two nations in conflict for a very long time, it's a wrong one because they based on something that has been told in their history to know that they are enemies to each other. So disinformation is a very strong weapon that this destroyer who used to, who is a figure of the past, who used to appear in history before to cause a lot of disaster. To make the world miserable. If he is using history as a weapon, as a way to lie to us, preventing us to know our past, preventing us to know who he is. So with that, he can cause a lot of trouble. That's what previously we mentioned, abomination of desolation. Desolation means something miserable, something not good to see, something at its very worst level. And when we see abomination, we see stuff that's supposed to be rejected, vile, outrageous things. But some people choose to worship, to praise. And the spiritual way that the Bible is talking about abomination, that exactly the sense, the meaning that it has. So abomination of desolation is a way for the destroyer, the one who was, who's not, and who will reappear to forge things, and even in the prophecies, to make us misunderstand some prophecy, for example. Sometimes the prophecy that we praise, we consider as a good thing that is about to happen, as a good thing that we will assist, is something that we're supposed to pray for us not to assist. Or it's something that we're supposed to pray that doesn't supposed to happen to you, to me, or to another. And by doing so, by setting up history in a way that we misunderstand prophecy, we misunderstand the past, sometimes we are saying word against us, and he will be using that to accuse us. He is the prince of this world. He's the one that used the truth against Jesus and the mountain to test him. When he transport him spiritually on the mountain and trying to trick him. And if If the Son of God, the one who possessed all the authority from the heaven to earth, he has this right to test him, to trick him during his entire time. Because some people believe that it was only at the time that he transported him to the mountain to test him. It was only in that moment that it happened. It is not. It is during his entire ministry. Sometimes he used the Pharisee. Sometimes he used the woman coming to him and ask him questions to trick him. They are waiting for an error from him. He knows what he can do if we make a mistake about what you're saying. And at the end of his time, Jesus, when he was done with this one, this vile being, he said, the prince of this world came and he didn't find anything for me. So his mission was done. But his rage will be against people, against the world, because his time is not far. The time for this world to end and for us to transit to another, a perfect form of life, which he doesn't like. So he will be again, you will be using the word that you are saying from history, from the Bible, that you don't really understand, but sometimes you interpret in a wrong way to accuse you and to obtain the right to cause disaster, to cause troubles in the world. Let's take, for example, Jesus in Matthew 24 and Luke 17, talking about the desolations that's supposed to happen before the end of the world. And he spoke about the kidnapping of poor people when he said between two people who will be in the garden, one will be taken and the other one will be left. Two people who will be in a mill, one will be taken, the other one will be left. And a lot of us are praising that because Jesus never mentioned that, but we interpret it as the return of Jesus, and he will be taking one of us and leave the other one. And you are wishing that it's supposed to be you. You are wishing that it's supposed to be your family because it's the return of Jesus. He said, two people who will be in a bed, one will be taken, the other one will be left. The first example, when he said, from two people who will be in a garden, one will be taken, the other one will be left. That's exactly what we are assisting in a lot of countries. Kidnapping of poor people. Someone who's working in the garden a lot of time doesn't have an interesting salary. Someone who's working in a miller a lot of time, most of the time, is someone who doesn't have an interesting salary. So by that, he meant the situation will be so humiliating, so horrible at the end of the world that they will be even taking poor people and asking money for them. That's exactly what we are assisting. In a lot of countries in Africa and Haiti, actually, it's all over the news that they are abducting people and they can understand why they are abducting someone they perfectly know doesn't have money to pay the ransom. If you go over the news, Africa, a lot of other countries, we can see that. They used to abduct people who have money, wealthy people, but actually it's people they perfectly know are hardly making it through the day to live a life, to procure food to their family. That's exactly what has been said in the prophecy. Two people will be in the garden, one will be taken, the other one will be left. Two people will be in a meal, they will take one and leave the other. And let's take, for example, the second example. The third one, it's mentioned mostly in Luke 17. When he said from two people will be in a bed, one will be taken, the other one, they will leave the other one. Bed, a lot of time, is the symbol of disease. That's why sometimes they use it as symbol for hospital. And this third figure, this third illustration that Jesus used to prophesy what will be happening in our world mean exactly what we are assisting right now. Pandemic, disease, because bed is the symbol of sickness. Sometimes they use it to announce there is an hospital in the area. A lot of people are catching the disease right now, but one of them recuperate and the other one die. From two people who will be in the bed, they will take one and they will leave the other. Because he tried to work in a way that you misunderstand the prophecy and you are praising something against yourself. You are wishing for something to happen to you, which you don't really know the meaning of it. That's exactly what you are doing when you don't know a prophecy and you are attracting something bad in your way. And he knows that he used that as an accusation to strike against mankind. That's really what's happening. He accuses us because we are saying something we don't know. We are attracting something against us. We think it's a good thing, which is not. And he used that as an argument in the celestial court to say, I didn't do anything. They are calling for that against them. They wish that to happen to them. I didn't do anything. They are asking for that. So, like Jesus said in Matthew 24, when you see the abomination and desolation taking place in holy position in church, everybody's supposed to be careful the way they are reading stuff. For you not to say something against yourself without you noticing. You have to be careful what you're reading. And even in this, a lot of history, you have to be careful what you are saying because he trick a lot of histories, make us understand them in the wrong way. Let's take another example that people used to say, which is not true. Jesus has been asked by one of his disciples about how people supposed to pray. Jesus, as the philosopher that he was, the exceptional man that he was, and people know exactly the way he talked with authority when he talked. He make a very clever, discernible, a very clear, he give a very clear explanation to people about how we're supposed to pray. But they interpret it, they omit it from the Bible and put something else. And they teach you that Jesus asked us to pray with the Father in the heaven, give us the holy bread, this and that, which is a joke when compared at what Jesus told the disciple about the way they're supposed to pray. So let's take a look at a passage when he said, don't conjure us to temptation, something alike. Why will God conjure you, introduce you to temptation? So if you're asking him not to do that to you, are you assuming that he used to do that? Are you assuming that God used to introduce people, conjure people to temptation, lead them to temptation? Sometimes you are saying something you don't really understand. And the beast who is not, who will reappear, know exactly that it will be an argument that he will use to accuse you, like he tried to do with Jesus. This prayer is not really the one that Jesus taught his disciples. They omit the real one and they put this one, which is a Catholic prayer. And it has been done by the Catholic Church when Emperor Constantine tried to infiltrate the church, making himself look like disciple, but in fact his real mission was to introduce bad stuff, introduce falsehood, and the Bible and the truth. His real intention was mixing falsehood and truth. I know a lot of you will be disappointed, and a lot of you won't believe it because you always says they had a wrong Bible, but a group of people conserved the real one. I have the real one. I know that. I believed it too. But some stuff, even from the one you have, has been changed. I mean, the Protestant Bible, the Louis II, the other one, the King's Bible. Even in this one, some false stuff has been introduced to it. So it is the time for you right now to be careful about what you are reading, to be careful about what you are trying to understand about the Bible. Because if you keep saying something wrong, the truth heal people. And at the same way, wrong things, falsehood, can destroy part of the world. Each of them has a power, and that's his weapon. The force that I'm talking about will reappear into the world, and who is already reappearing by pandemic. This is a phenomenon of kidnapping of poor people around the world. But make no mistake, it's just a small beginning and what is about to happen. And the only way to fix yourself, to preserve yourself, is to know the real truth about the story of the world. And if you are a preacher, a pastor, to preserve yourself because he will be specially targeting you like he tried to do with Jesus. The real way is to stop talking about your life. Look for your relationship with God, not something false like you used to do, thinking that I spent 4 years or I don't know, 3 years learning from theological school. So it's enough for me if I use the Bible, if I use history, if I use the verse, it's enough. No. If he used to laugh at people who is telling you, you have to do fasting, you have to pray regularly, you have to look for a relationship with God, to look for his power. If you used to laugh about that, it's definitely the time that you're supposed to take that seriously, because it will be against you when you will be saying something to the thousands of people who believe in you, and he will be there asking for the right to strike you because you just mentioned a lie. You just mentioned something false. So be careful with your life. Minister of God, be careful with your future. Don't worry. There is a way for you to preserve yourself. The truest thing in your life is yourself. You know your story. You know yourself. You can't lie about that. But if you are relying on the story of the world, you can make a lot of mistake until God sends someone who will tell the truth about what really happened and a lot of version of history. Why what they didn't tell us. So take your life seriously. The kidnapping and the power country is not even something about money. It's a cult. People are trying to make a way, trace a path for this force to come into the world because there will be an advantage for them and that they will get an advantage for that. The voodoo people, the people in the mystical world, they are trying to trace a path to this force. And that the ritual they use to do that, the abduction of poor people, which Jesus prophesied. But for a lot of the other countries, the main thing is the rage of a pandemic, of a disease, because that's the introduction of himself with people who don't understand the interpretation of the past and was attracting bad stuff against them without knowing. So there is a new direction for you to prepare for what is coming. Look for a relationship with God. Live kind to each other. Tolerate each other. Support each other. Because this being hate everything about tolerance, about love, about altruism. And the best thing you can do to let your people know about what is coming, you can share this video, share the link, let someone else know, subscribe to this channel. And there will be other video we will be talking about other important aspect about what has been said. So I wish to see you in another video. Bye.